Well, it's time for Season 14. If you didn't see it, this new season will bring a lot of changes to the game, from the map to a new Kaisa skin that looks sick with his horns, but also to items, with the biggest change being the total removal of mythic items. And since Riot decided to remove preseason, this means we are all going in without any type of preparation, and without much balancing from Riot themselves. Surely it won't be a disaster, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I can wait for my ult 40. It's not for 40.
But anyway, since there are new items, this means new guide. For the past couple of weeks, I've been testing many builds on the champion on PBE, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. So with that said, welcome to the Season 14 Kaisa build guide. By the way, like before, I'll make sure to update the guide over the season when buff or nerf impact the champion or important items. So if you want to stay updated, make sure to subscribe, it helps me a lot. Alright, before we start talking about builds, it's important to first go over the big changes that Season 14 is bringing to the table. First off, like I said, mythics are getting totally removed. Some of them, like Gale Force or Dustblade, are getting deleted from the game, and others are simply losing their mythic passive, like Rageblade that won't have the double penetration it used to have. Now, every role got some changes, but ADCs are the class that got the least amount of them, since we already had our big changes during the Freak season with items like Static and changes to Rageblade. The only new addition that matters for ADCs is a new item called Terminus that gives AD, attack speed, and has a stacking passive that gives defensive stats and double penetration. Make sure to remember this item because it will be important later on. Finally, even though there is now more liberty in what you can build, there are still limitations. IE and Navari cannot be built together. Terminus and LDR also cannot be built together. You can only build one penetration item per game, so keep that in mind when you're building. There are even more changes to talk about, but I'll go over them during the rest of the video. Okay, so in Season 14, Kaisa has 4 styles she can go for: AD Crit, Hybrid on Hit, Lethality, and finally AP Kaisa. Let's start with AD Crit. First off, the runes. For this, nothing has changed compared to Season 13. Lethal Tempo, or HOB, still works fine, and in between them, it is just a question of preferences. Some might prefer HOB because it's more aggressive, while others, like me, prefer Ulti because it scales better in the mid game. So yes, it really depends on your comfort. Alright, build time. Like I said before, there wasn't that many changes made to ADCs. This means that what worked in Season 13 can still work in Season 14. So Kraken, Navari, Phantom Dancer is still a really good build to go for, with good DPS and low CDs with Navari. You can also go for Terminus 3rd instead of PD if you want a bit more damage and pen, especially into bruisers like Darius and Renekton. But versus tanks, it's just better to go for PD and to LDR. Remember, you cannot build both LDR and Terminus. Another option I found super comfortable is going for Kraken into Terminus. This gives you your Q and E evolution for a super cheap price, and for the third item, you have many options. You can go for IE or Navari for more damage, PD for better kiting, and even Rageblade to get the interaction between Kraken and Rageblade, so you can proc your Kraken passive more often. Just remember one thing, do not go for this build versus tanks, because with how tanky they are in Season 14, you will need LDR to deal with them. But versus squishies or bruisers, this build does wonders and even makes you into a stronger 1v1 champ with the added defensive stats that Terminus gives you. Finally, one last build you can go for is Kraken, IE, Phantom Dancer, and Shadow Flame. Alright, I know this looks a bit funny, but let me explain. The new Shadow Flame makes your magic damage crit, and IE gives you more crit damage, so this funny interaction allows Kaisa passive to crit now and deal actually a lot of damage. Not to mention that going for Kraken IE is not that bad, although it's a bit weaker than Navari. So when you go for this build, just make sure 1, you're doing well in lane, and 2, you're facing a pretty squishy team. Alright, one last thing before we move on. I want to quickly mention the new Zhonya's that now gives you 120 AP and that still have a stopwatch in the new Seeker's Arm Guard. As a safe item, if you need to choose between GA and Zhonya's, in a lot of cases, Zhonya's does feel better and more comfortable, not to mention it gives you your W evolution and the AP doesn't go to waste with AP Kaisa scaling, giving you a stronger ultimate shield and more damage on all abilities. Okay, let's now talk about Hybrid. Out of all the builds, this one was the one that got hit the most. First off, Rageblade lost its double penetration, but more important, Nashor lost 10 AP, only giving 90 AP now. This means you cannot get double evolution with a simple Nashor. This is 1000% a direct nerf to Kaisa and Riot trying to limit AP Kaisa power in Season 14, as the static dominated a good part of Split 2, so I guess I can a bit understand. This also forces to kinda go Rageblade if you want to build Hybrid. This means that Stormrazor, Rageblade, Nashor's is still one of the best options for this style. One good news though is for the 4th item you have so many options. You can go for Shadow Flame for more DPS, Terminus for more AD and Domo penetration, Voice Staff versus tanks, Storm Surge for more burst, or even Dead Cap if you're fed. And yes, overall, Kaisa hybrid scaling does feel really good right now. But that's not the only option I can propose here. A second build you can go for is Kraken Terminus into Nashers plus Storm or Storm Surge for burst. This has the same logic as for the 80 crit build. This build does perform really well into squishies and bruisers and has a quick Q and E evolution, but will lag into tanks because yes, you cannot build Terminus and Voice Staff at the same time. So if you're facing a tanky team, don't build Terminus. Alright, now with the fun stuff, Lethality Kaisa. Now Lethality has received a pretty big overhaul in their items, meaning there's a lot of new ways to build a champion. And obviously there are and will be a lot of iteration of Lethality Kaisa that will come out as soon as Season 14 rolls out. So when I was testing Lethality, I tried to focus on comfort and try to mimic what was already being built right now. And I came up with this, Luminous plus Opportunity plus Nashers plus Storm. This build feels really nice and is really similar to the Umbral build we have right now on live servers. Luminous plus Opportunity is a buff in stats compared to live servers for the same amount of gold. Not to mention the movement speed that Luminous gives you will help a lot, and the passive from Opportunity that increases your lethality when you enter combat will make your Q deal even more damage. For the 4th item, you have a lot of options. You can go for Shadow Flame if you want more DPS, Storm Surge if you want more burst, or Zen Focus if you need more haste for poke, or even Dead Cap. Overall, if you like Lethality, you will love Season 14 with how strong these items feels right now. And last but not least, AP Kaisa, the build that everyone loves to complain about. Okay, right now for Season 14, AP Kaisa is more suited for top lane or mid lane, since you need mana unit to get Q evolution and this item is simply too weak to be played bot lane. Not impossible, but it's not comfortable. Since we are talking about solo lane Kaisa, here are the runes I recommend to run. One is a classic first strike rune page that not only gives you more damage on your W and passive, but also gives you free gold so you can reach those item spike quicker. A second page you can run is Fleet. This is a more sustained heavy build that focuses on giving you as much comfort as possible in lane, allowing you to heal back up the poke damage you take, but also give you MS so you can carry the enemies like Aatrox with more ease. In terms of builds, there are generally two ways you can build AP Kaisa. The first one is to build full AP with no E evolution. For this, you want to run Manamune into Luden's Companion and Horizon Focus or Shadow Flame if you're fed. Remember something, Kaisa needs 88 haste if you want to proc a passive at full range with 2 Ws. So Luden's Companion is a must since Liandry's doesn't give you any haste. Now, the second way you can play AP Kaisa is to build Nashers and go for a more attack speed build. In this case, you have many options, depending on what you're trying to achieve. So Manamune into Nashers into Luden's Companion if you want more poke, or Storm Surge if you want as much burst as possible, or Liandry's versus tanks, or Shadow Flame if you're gonna play a more ADC style and auto attack a lot. And there you have it. I hope with this you can start a new season with an advantage. Overall, I'm pretty happy. We got a lot of options for AD and hybrid, Lethality is looking good, and AP Kaisa feel fantastic with the new changes. Even though I still think that 14.1 will be a bit chaotic, but like I said before, if there are any important changes, I'll make sure to cover them. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I wish you all good luck with your climb, and welcome to Season 14. Good luck and have fun, everyone!